Well. Epstein's guards, they're going to jail. See, I did a video just recently about Epstein and how I was saying I don't believe he killed himself. There was too many things going on that didn't make sense. Well, guess what? The two guards are going to go to jail for falsifying their information or whatever, right? But, you know, I don't know if they're going to make it, right? I don't think they're going to make it to, like, really far into it. Because, I mean, they're going to start snitching probably. They're going to start telling who told them to act like they were asleep. Who told them that to falsify the documents. Man, oh man. You know, this is very funny to me, right? You know, on my last video I kind of lost my cool a little bit about the idea of Epstein and the roles that were going on and stuff like that. And I got pretty heated with myself, right? Just thinking about it. So it just makes me laugh that now we have two people about to go to jail for their role in it. See, but it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we don't hear that someone high up is going to jail for it. Right? You know, it sucks that the lower man always is the first to fall. More than likely it's because he's the easiest target. Right? You know, when you're shooting game or you're doing certain things, you're probably going to want to go for the easiest target. Right? So, prosecutors do that stuff all the time. You know, when they're trying to catch certain drug dealers and stuff like that, right? They get the addict first, and then they'll work their way up to the dealer, and then they'll work their way up to the head guy. That's what they do in gangs and stuff like that. So that's a common practice for them. It just sucks that it'll probably be 20, 30 years from now before we start hearing about the higher ups. But by then, child relationships with adults will be an okay thing by then. At the rate that we're moving at, to be honest, I'll tell anybody that I believe that sometime from now, you know, adult and child relations will be a normal thing. Look how we've been growing now, right? I've had people tell me, no, it'll never happen. That whole thing will never happen. I know how to say the word, but for some reason I get tongue-tied when I want to say it. It's crazy. But look how we've okayed so much stuff that's crazy. Right? Look how we've approved the okay of changing a young child's sex. Telling these children to be more open and stuff like that, right? Letting their self go, and the way we allow them to dress and stuff like that. We've gotten more and more okay with these things. Or at least some people have. Why wouldn't you think that allowing an adult to be with a child wouldn't be the next things that are fixing to become okay? And the reason why they're going to push for these things to start to be okay is because that's going to protect the very people who have been doing these things for so long. See, they obviously can't just come out and say, hey, it should be okay, right? They're going to wait and kind of condition it into you. Start to kind of sprinkle a little bit and a little bit more and a little bit more until they finally get you to say it's okay. Right? The same way that they've been conditioning people for transgenders and stuff like that, right? To change your gender at a young age. But I just find it so funny that we have these two guys here that are about to go to jail for this stuff. Now, like I say, I want to see higher up people get arrested for this stuff. You know, somebody who has a name. You know, people recognize certain names. So if you start listing out people who people don't recognize, nobody's gonna follow the story. Or they might follow it. There's some people that always will follow it, but you know, most people won't follow it because they don't recognize the name that's being said or the person that's getting into this trouble, right? We want to see people who we recognize. You know, were they involved in it as well, right? What was their role? Now, will we see that kind of stuff? There's a possibility we might see a few names that we might recognize, right? You know, heck, look at that, what's his name? Wiener? I don't know. It was some dude that was sending dick pics of himself to a 15-year-old. Right? I don't think he went to jail or at all for that. Right? Because I think that if you're sending your private parts to an underage person, that should be counted as indecent exposure at least at the minimum, right? You know, but I don't know exactly how the laws are on that kind of stuff, right? But I do know that if you are sending pictures back and forth, that's trafficking. What is it? It's not trafficking. What is it called? It's for when you're like distributing child pornography. I think that's what it's considered, right? If you are sending pictures of back and forth, right? So if you get an underage girl to send you something, you are now in possession of child pornography, and she would get in trouble, or he would get in trouble as well for distributing it. Which in a lot of cases, the younger child doesn't get in any trouble at all for that act, because they're children. But I remember growing up, some of these girls were not very innocent, and even at a very young age, right? You know, I knew 13 and 14-year-olds and 12-year-olds and 15-year-olds that were putting themselves out there willingly and knowingly, right? People have been playing with this idea since I was a kid. You know how I know that they're playing with your minds as far as getting you into the idea of letting someone older than you sleep with you? Is when you're 13 and 14 years old and they ask you the question, would you sleep with this person for some money? Would you sleep with that person for $1 million? Would you sleep with that person for $500? This and that, right? They've played with those ideas even as a kid. And to be honest, I feel like it was set in motion to get a child thinking about sex, as far as, you know, hooking up with someone older than them, knowing what they would want, what you would have to do, what would be your reward in exchange, that kind of stuff, right? See, they've been playing with that idea for so long. Because even when I was a kid, they were pushing that idea. You know, you knew what somebody wanted from you by the way they acted around you. In some cases, right? You know, so I understand that these are still kids though, but some of these kids aren't innocent. We've seen it time and time again. Look at these school shootings performed by children. The child wasn't innocent. The child knew what he was getting into. And the same way that some of these children know what they're getting into when they're talking to these grown people. Now, as parents, we try to play the biggest role that we can by keeping them away from that kind of stuff, right? But obviously, we can't control their thought process in some cases, right? What they see is okay in that or not. But I just heard that news today about them catching those two people. I got a little off topic a little bit because when I think about those type of things, my mind starts to wander, right? It takes me back to my youth, seeing these kind of things going on, seeing these adults sleeping with these younger kids. I grew up seeing that stuff on the regular. Did I say anything? No, because back then I used to think that it was normal. That these adults were sleeping with these younger kids. Hell, I have siblings that have been molested at a young age. I've had girlfriends that were molested at a young age. I know a few guys that were molested at a young age. You know, this kind of stuff was normal in my community growing up, right? And when you start to grow up and you start to see these things and you start to notice what isn't okay, what is okay, and stuff like that, and when you actually have a way to stop it, you know, you try to do the best you can to stop it, right? And that's why I'm so protective of my kids, because I've seen it happen so much, it just runs rampant, right? I knew a guy who was in his 20s sleeping with a 14 and 15-year-old, and in return what she got was contacts and food and random things like that, right? You know, stuff that means nothing. And she was just so willing to just give it away for that kind of stuff, and it was always crazy to me. But like I say, I grew up and I have kids of my own, so now I can protect them from, or at least try to protect them from that kind of stuff. I see the signs and stuff like that, and I try to make sure that stuff never gets around my kids. Now, I don't want to go too far into it, because the last time I did a video talking about my kids and the sexual predators and stuff like that are after them, right? I got a little upset because it's a scary thing to think about. It's a thing that pisses me off really bad, because I feel so strongly about it. But I wanted to do this video just to talk about the guys that got caught, you know, my thought process on, you know, why we won't catch anyone else, and if we do catch someone else, it'll be a while from now. We'll almost forget about the story for the most part. Where I think the mindset of people are going to be headed by the time we start getting to catching these people. And the idea that people are just going so far out of the norm that it's going to become normal. You know, the idea of, you know, adults and children being together, you know, that idea will get pushed back to the point where it's okay. You know, they already trying to do this marriage thing where people are marrying like random crap, like the lady saying that she was marrying a chandelier or was dating a chandelier, or the lady that was marrying a tree, and everybody's like, oh well, it's okay because it's not hurting anybody, you know. But a certain level of crazy is going on, and if we keep pushing their crazy ideas and being okay with it, then it just trickles down to, it's the whole thing about tolerance. What will you tolerate? And you know, as we all are, we tolerate a certain amount of stuff, and there's certain things we don't tolerate. But I feel like eventually we'll start tolerating the things that we don't tolerate because it's out of the norm, right? Because you don't want to stand out so much that you become a problem and you have things against you and you can't grow anymore because people won't allow you to grow because you're not with the normal stuff that they're with. Eventually they'll push all of us who disagree with them to a point where we cannot grow mentally, physically, emotionally, won't let us connect with no one, won't let us work, won't let us earn money, because they're going to outnumber us. But there is one thing though. A lot of us stay so far to ourselves that they can never judge where we stand because we stick to ourselves. And that's what I've done for so long. No one can ever tell you what I'm into, what my thought process is. So I'm really putting myself out there by doing these YouTube videos and stuff like that. But at the same time, I want to be heard because all I hear is the opposite side, the opposing side. It's all I hear. So I feel like that's the majority. That's all that's out there. And I want people to know that we don't all agree with you. And I already know that sometimes by saying you disagree with the normal, that puts a target on you. Right? But it needs to be heard. There's people out there like me who just disagree, but never really was into the YouTube, never really into Facebook, never really into social media and all this stuff. So, but we keep hearing about these things and we feel like we have no voice to be heard. And we try to elect people into office that would stand with us or certain things, right? But we feel like even then they're being corrupted by the ideas of the other side as well. We'll put someone in office who is standing strong with us, and then 3 years later they're changing their mind. Because if they want to get reelected, they're going to have to conform to the left. People who are too far from the right, you know, they still go left eventually. So we just want to be heard. I'm just one man with one voice who just wants people to hear that things aren't always what they seem to be. Right? We're not all in agreement with you. We are still louder than you, because even though that everyone is pushing your ideas before they're pushing ours. You know, I put this out in my videos that I'm a father and a husband and I do all these other things, right? And so I want my voice to also be heard by other fathers and other husbands and other people who look like me, or people who don't look like me, who sit there and see me and say, I can stand with that man because he believes what I believe. He knows that there are an even push and pull between us that needs to be maintained, right? Who can see everyone equally but know that we're not equal. That my differences are my differences because of my choices, right? Your differences are your differences because of your choices. And what makes me mad is when people say I didn't have a choice. You always had a choice, and you always will have a choice. It's what you do with those choices that made the difference. Just the same way that on my last video when I was talking about becoming a politician, I had a choice to get into that kind of stuff, but I didn't believe that I could do it. So I didn't take that choice. I didn't take that chance. Regardless of what you believe and what you know, you always still have a choice. It's what are you going to do with it? So I wanted to reach out to people. Now, I know I'm off topic. And like I said earlier, is when I start talking about these things, I feel passionate about it because I feel so strongly that we are being muffled and suppressed. But the thing about the people on the left and their idea of constantly moving forward, eventually they're going to get so far away from themselves that they can't even stop what they're doing. And then eventually they'll start trying to fight against them, the very things that they put in motion. But I feel like if we don't start to point it out to them, like you are getting too far away from the norm, or not the norm, but away from reality, that even you are going to be muffled and shut and shine. Like, I don't know the word I want to use. I'm sorry. I've said in other videos I don't have very big vocabulary, and I don't want to sound smarter than I am. I just want to connect with people. I just want us to show everyone else that we don't all agree, but we can all live amongst each other and know that we can still keep doing things from different sides of the playing field. If you look at baseball, everyone has a role. And if somebody's not playing their role, you lose. The whole team loses. When I'm watching an Astros game and I'm watching the whole team play, right? I feel excited when the team wins. But when one person isn't doing their job, you can't help but to get pissed off, because you're like, man, do your job. Do what you're supposed to do. You know what your role is. Do it. We get so far off base, and we want to do our own thing, and we want to show out, and we want everyone to know who we are. Sometimes we get distracted from what we're trying to do, and even I do it. See, like I say, I'm new to this stuff, and I want y'all to know me, but I want y'all to connect with me, and I want to connect with y'all. But I always have to remember and remind myself as well, my time is valuable, right? Right now I'm sitting in my car doing my video because I don't want to be driving and doing my video, but I know that I probably should have got home like an hour ago. But at the same time, I want to see my channel grow, and I want to connect with y'all. And I need y'all's help to put myself out there. But it takes time, and I'm putting in the time. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get off. I've gone so far off topic that I'm going to have to do a video about my videos. Shit, I'll make topics on my topics that I talk about in one video. Right? I don't even have to watch anything on YouTube or on the news and stuff like that to give y'all a topic to talk about, because shoot, I'll just go back and watch one of my own videos and pick something out of it and talk about. Now, I hope that everyone is having a good day. This is my second video for the day, but I'm going to go home and eat. I'm hungry. I got to get ready for work for tonight, right? So I need to go ahead and do that. But This is my second video for the day. I will upload it in a little while. If you made it this far, thank you. Thank you. I'm trying to get people to watch me all the way to the end. Right? But we'll see how things play out. But until next time, I will see y'all later. Holla.